a standard game. We do see the same bans once again on the Sylas here, the Senna, and the Lucian that we saw last game.
First pick
Hecarim first pick, so I mean they're putting everything onto Arthur's Hecarim here.
Yeah, and it's a departure from what they've done in the past, right? Because, you know, in another draft where Hecarim was available, they picked Udyr first. They also went for Rel first in game number 3 when they were also on blue side. So, and keep in mind, game number 1, they first picked Renekton. So they've kind of been messing around with different strategies as the best of 5 has been coming along. This will, of course, leave Renekton Italy available.
Yeah.
Peanuts Nidalee
looks like he can't
really clean.
Yeah, I mean it was like, well, Nidalee's banned actually, in fact. But I was gonna say,
well,
I actually was thinking the same thing as you, and Peanut looked like really excited, so I was actually kind of leaning into that as well. But they did ban it.
Second win of the series.
And that's, I mean, this is very clearly Hanwha Life being very concerned about Peanut. And he hasn't had the flashy plays, but he has actually not only helped weaken Chovy's efficiency in that last game, but also empowered Rich very heavily.
He was going to be capable of.
And
but
so,
I cannot stress this enough. I mean, this
is actually a moment where Hanwha Life pull in their jungler, their sub jungler, and ban the Nidalee. Like the tone of the series has really come to a fine point here for Hanwha Life. We will actually get the Gnar this time.
And that's been the theme of the season. Every time you think something is for sure, every time you think something is true. Besides Dumb Kia being number 1 so far, we'll see what happens.
What's it going to be for Chovy? Are we picking for Chovy here? And yes, we are. It's Orianna in his final game of the best of 5.
And it's not a champion that, you know, outside of Shockwaves, you really have a lot of carry potential per se. I mean, you have a few abilities you toss out, you do some burst damage, and that's it. This is not a champion that empowers Chovy's playstyle, which is, you know, something I mentioned earlier. I almost Chekhov's gunned the Orianna into the series by saying, you know, he can play so many champions, but he can also just play Orianna, and he does do it here. But it is not how they've been playing this entire series. Hanwha Life Esports are going to show us a completely different look here. And they have Gnar for like straight up team fighting in the late game. Like, this is not an early game dive comp. Nope. This is very, very different.
A big departure. Again, you know, the entire draft, as you mentioned, is kind of shaped. The new jungler comes in, the new ban. And now the entire comp is conforming to something that they haven't really played this straight up, at least, in the entire series. So we'll see what else comes out here. Obviously, with a lot of AD carries still left available, they're going to ban away 2 of those from Def to take away the Jinx.
I wouldn't hate a Camille ban here, to be honest. We know the Renekton's already in, but as we've already seen, they're very willing to flex it mid if they don't like the top matchup. And you take away the Gangplank. If you really want Morgan to be consistent on this Gnar and actually have the best time possible, I think that's the only other champion you're really worried about. I don't think you're concerned about Irelia here. They banned the set for, you know, arguably similar reasons here. And for Nongshim here, I wonder what support we're going down, because the Braum worked pretty well last game. I think it works well into Hanwha Life's comp again. And they're going to flex it, and Rich gets the Aatrox. He doesn't look too happy about it, but...
It's like, man, I got to carry you fools again. I mean, I actually really like it. It's obviously going to be a much more difficult matchup against the Gnar. But you also save your support until you see what the bottom lane of Hanwha Life is.
Deft has been very invisible in this series, which is, again, such a departure from what we thought was going to happen. What we thought was going to be the case is just, you know, potentially Duckdom isn't able to carry because Deft crushes him. And he's played the Kai'Sa now several games, and the 2 games he played on it, he did not look solid. And he just wasn't doing damage, right? And I feel like with this composition that has really strong frontline, again, the Leona's going to make it easier. I do appreciate the Leona pick, but I'm not sold on this Kai'Sa pick yet again. Almost would have rather seen a Jinx, you know, pairing down there. You know, maybe like Jinx Tahm Kench or something like that. But Alistar Ezreal is the response, and Valdez, I feel like with all the variants that this draft has added, it doesn't allow Chovy to carry per se. It doesn't allow, I mean, your Arthur coming back in for the first time in Game 5. And nothing about this draft screams, okay, well, we had Arthur for the sick Game 5 unusual pick, or we're going to completely change how the jungle is played. Yes, they changed how they drafted for the top 3 picks, you know, still we get the Kai'Sa on the bottom. But this doesn't feel like Hanwha Life Esports are making a statement in this 5th game. It feels like they've just kind of toned down the early game and looking for a more well-rounded comp. But Nongshim looked like they got everything they wanted again. And the only question mark for me is the Lilia, and because she is not going to work very well with this comp, but she can be very powerful early.
It's the Lilia into Hecarim, and also she just got nerfed. Her ultimate cooldown by 20 seconds, I believe, even at rank 3. So
it's massive.
You're not going to have as many setups. You can't just throw bowling balls over and over and look for setups, you know, multiple times in a row. It is, of course, going to be a heavy amount of magic damage, at least, coming out of the jungle. They really wanted to have that here. But again, you know, it's Chovy on an immobile mid lane kind of carry, and you are going up against Aatrox Renekton again. You take away the Leona maybe as a steal-away pick, I would say, so that Chovy doesn't absolutely get dunked, because Ezreal Leona would have had a field day against him. Otherwise, I think the Alistar would have been nice for Peel. But either way, looks like we're going into this one in this manner. The comps are set, and the Rift is ready. Let's hop onto it right now for game number 5.
And my other issue here is, you know, the side lanes, like the 1-3-1 problem that happens later on in the game. You're going to have a serious problem trying to deal with all that side pressure if Rich gets ahead enough, you know, and starts solo killing Morgan if he tries to contest. Like, that's going to be this is something that you don't have a great answer to. I mean, you have the Hecarim that can kind of chase around and follow, but it is a little bit concerning. Always glad to see some Crab Raven.
Yeah. Also, mana flow band stacks before the lane even begins. Makes me feel good as mid laner. We're going to see here some of the runes. Everything looks kind of standard, nothing too out of the ordinary from what I could tell.
Yeah. Nothing wacky here that I see either, just from glancing.
Yeah, there's a, you know, a bunch of like life steal and life gain runes on the Gnar. A lot of that got nerfed, actually.
Yeah.
The Fleet Footwork and the Ravenous Hunter. Those were the two, so, you know, he's stacked them all, including the other one. I forget the name, the Feast of Blood or something like that. The top one.
Yeah.
And perhaps, you know, maybe that helps Rich a little bit in this lane if he can kind of make his trading stick a little bit better.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
I am excited to see how Rich does, because it felt like in the last game, you know, we didn't have a lot of focus on him in terms of the observing. It was mostly focused on Bay and seeing how that plays out. But in you know, in the last moments of the game, you suddenly started to realize, like, wow, look at how ahead Rich is, and like, look at how much experience he has, and look at how much macro impact we're having. And Kai'Sa 0-5. Now, this is also somewhat of a part of the reason why this is the case is because Kai'Sa has fallen off very significantly in the later parts of the LCK, where Ezreal has also become popularized. This is not like a thing that has happened over the course of the season. It's very late that Ezreal's popular, and Kai'Sa is not doing very well right now. I mean, you know, the situation here too, I feel like you put Bay on a champion where he's very good, based on what we saw last game, and he's also just trying to put a lot of pressure on here with Peanut. But, you know, Bay is a player that we often criticize a lot, but on his set he was great, and on his, you know, on his Renekton last game, very good. So you're not actually worried about Bay as a liability, I don't think, if you're Nongshim here, like you have been in the past sometimes.
Yeah, it's all coming together, it feels like.
Yeah.
You're finding picks that Bay can survive on against Chovy. I mean, I say that, and again, he did get solo killed the one time with the greedy cannon play and the excellent wave manipulation from Chovy. But dying once is better than dying twice, right? He died twice the last time around the game before that. And, you know, as long as Chovy doesn't get absolutely disgustingly fed, you should be looking good, because a lot of Hanwha Life's wins have just come by Chovy hard carrying by himself.
Yeah. The Orianna, you know, is a champion that you can get solo kills on in other matchups. It seems very unlikely to happen to the Renekton. But, you know, Orianna is functionally, a lot of the time, kind of an ult button in late game. And it is one of the most powerful ultimates in the game. He's actually not having the best time at the moment, Rich.
Yeah.
But Peanut is coming up here. He's going to have Scuttle control. There's no ward. If he actually starts trading aggressively, they might be able to bait something, but I mean, it is level 4. Let's see.
He's just trying to clear out all of his camps as fast as possible. Arthur got the one on the bottom side. Morgan currently in Mega Gnar, so not going to be able to make anything happen there.
Nope.
And, you know, this often happens, actually, when teams get into a 5th game where they just kind of slow things down and they're like, okay, let's try to limit our mistakes as much as possible.
I mean, also the composition of Hanwha is just so much slower than anything they've played all night. You know, especially when you think about games 1 and 3.
Oh, Rich oversteps here, and guess what? You're going to be pulled back. No flash available, no dash. First blood given over to Arthur, the guy who subbed in game number 5.
There you go. I mean, that's the start of the game. There's your action. And unfortunately, Peanut just not nearby. He's going to rush down to the bottom side of the map and see if he can steal away these Raptors. But that's all he's going to be able to trade back. Timing of this works out pretty well. He had it warded. But unfortunately, you know, the timing of him being on the top side of the map does not coincide with the ability to save Rich there. So this is actually a really bad start for Rich. This is very different from the last game. In our matchup, again, not extremely comfortable here. And I think a lot of teams would have picked something else than the Aatrox, but Rich was very comfortable on it in the last game, and obviously it's his most played champion career. It's the champion that he's feared for, you know, can't overstate it. Overextends here, you know, Arthur's here, he's got the scoop, gonna grab him, and it's as simple as that. Rich didn't have flash, they knew it. Set play, they had to go all the way around from the lane, so there's no vision whatsoever. It didn't take any chances on being spotted. They 100% all in on that play, and it worked out. But yeah, he's not gonna have the same sort of pop-off game, based on what we're seeing right now, as he did last game.
Yeah, it does feel that way. As
stole a kill.
Yeah. Hands that one over. Dom looks like he didn't get the absolute best back, and Deft and Vista were able to punish a little bit, but that's okay. That'll happen. He gets a Sheen on his back, a couple long swords. Gonna make this lane a bit easier for himself. We got this first Drake Cloud, which, you know, doesn't always generate the most aggression onto it, but that does mean that it's not a Cloud Soul again. Where is Rich going? Okay.
Well, he doesn't have vision. I don't think he knows. He's actually just going to keep playing this like he's up 1-0-4. That's a bit concerning.
And they're just waiting.
Yeah.
Still no flash available. The World Ender does come in, but you're getting scooped again. He's looking for the dash over the wall. We'll see if the damage... Yeah, with Chovy here, absolutely. He's not able to get an assist, actually, which kind of sucks, but that is okay. Sleep comes in down on the bottom side, and they're looking for the kill onto Deft, and you know what? They will be able to pick it up here. Kellen not even level 6, and still is able to tank that very nicely.
Very well played here. You hit 6, you have to sleep. I mean, that's what you're going to look for here with Peanut at 6. You have an opportunity, especially when you know 100% that Arthur's on the top side of the map. You can actually make this dive happen very easily with the wave state that they had. And this is actually going to be a really massive pick. It's going to cost a lot of CS over to Deft.
Okay, he's fine.
Arthur is having a great game, though. And, you know, Red Buff's like, I'm just a really big Krug.
And it's like, wait, what? Okay.
He actually like resetted the second one more time, but anyway, Arthur's been having a pretty good game, you know, and this was one of our concerns, right? Is how well is he going to be able to play under the pressure? And you know, he has a control ward here, and he plays the long con on this one, and it was a bit puzzling to have Rich go all the way out there, and he gets punished for it. You mentioned Chovy doesn't get the assist, but down here on the bottom side of the map, let's take a look at how this happens. Peanut just bowling balls over the wall and actually just goes for the solo sleep on the Deft, who's just hits 5 as this is happening. Follow up, you know, is perfect, and that's the end of it. Like, it was just a really nicely timed gank. Hit 6 right before, and knows that Arthur's on the other side of the map. So they're trading this back. Make no mistake, HLE Esports are in a massive lead right now, but you know, it's plays like this that can get you back into the game, and Duckdom is your guy. I mean, the series has been Duckdom versus Chovy.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy how, without fail, Duckdom has gotten fed in every game. I mean, even the last one, where he wasn't even necessarily the carry. Like, even got a vote for the player of the game from the Chinese broadcast, so you know.
Yeah.
Everybody's noticing this guy, even when he's not even the main star. Just gets fed time and time again. It's not easy to do.
And he's just been so consistent in lane. It's crazy, like how much his gold lead is. He has a pretty good gold lead just generally on average on the 6th place team, and that's Like sometimes you see some of these stats that we have before the broadcast, and you're like, oh, look at look at all of Khan's stats. It's like, well, he's also 16-2, so
yeah,
you expect that, right? But some of the stats from like Duckdom, I'm like, wow, this is a team that almost didn't make playoffs, and these stats look like that. As Peanut as Lilia is actually just gonna solo this dragon. Okay, they do come over and help, and they don't have vision of where Arthur is, but they had the wave pushed so well, and he felt comfortable to do this. Even gets a little Alistar shield removal assist there. We'll have to see it. And that's a nice little steal away, actually, on an objective. And now they can look to maybe even push the issue and go double objective here. Grab the Rift Herald.
Yeah, they got it pretty early, which is good news.
Like with the Aatrox and the Renekton, I mean, you have a really strong Herald team fighting comp. As we saw, in the early parts of that the Infernal Drake fight, remember last game, like at that stage of the game, you're just so strong. Even with Rich being 0-2, just your kit is so consistent.
And you see that they're not really putting pressure on that objective just yet. They have a ward down there. They kind of question mark pinged it. Not going to get on that for now. And Hanwha Life don't make any big moves towards it either. As we're taking a look at some of the gold, you'll see that even with the 2 kills, Arthur is only about 300 gold ahead of Peanut, and that's partially because of the awesome farm that Peanut has been doing in the jungle.
Yeah. Duckdom currently sitting about 700 gold ahead, if I read that correctly, so has a pretty significant lead, but nothing that isn't recoverable, not at this stage for Deft. Oh, sad B also.
Perfect timing.
Well, I mean, the next fight is probably going to be around this Herald, and we've talked about how Nongshim is. We're just missing CS everywhere, and that was Chovy.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen. But Nongshim have a really strong comp to fight this Herald, but they don't have enough lane prio, and I think the problem and the main reason why this hasn't been started is because Rich is just kind of playing the game under the turret as Kellen gets caught.
Yeah, and they're actually going in on this one. They're going to trade ultimates.
Forcing that out pretty early.
Yeah, Arthur was there, so good respect shown by Kellen. Doesn't want to get caught out or anything like that.
There's a lot of I keep seeing pings on the Rift Herald from everybody, but it's just they're not in a position. Like Nongshim's not in a position to actually take it. It's too risky because of the lane priority on top. And Hanwha Life are like, I just don't want to fight Nongshim right now, so I'm not going to consider that either. Even though Chovy has insane prio too. It feels like the dream for Rift Herald for Hanwha Life right now with the prio they have. They just sandwich in and take it, but it's just such a hard comp to fight right now that they're not willing to take it unless it's a trade. They do not want to fight for it. Chovy, doing very well in lane. 25 CS up.
Yeah, just Chovy things.
Yep.
Even though he did miss that one ranged minion, we'll forgive him for that. It's okay.
Jonas Strong won't, but we will.
Yeah. I saw that zoom in. And yeah, it's over 10 CS a minute, obviously. Going to be very nice. We're at the point in the game where we're kind of just watching Leona back animations.
Yeah, I was like literally about to say the same thing. I'm like, and this is the most interesting thing that's happening. Hey, Rift Herald actually gets taken. They're actually just quietly going to steal this one away. I think if Nongshim knew this was happening, they probably would have postured around it, but we had a free dragon for Peanut, now we're getting a free Herald for Arthur. No fighting allowed in this game.
Yeah, just the top lane is being pushed in, Rich down a level. Chovy, same thing in the mid lane, so you don't really have the prio, and they had no vision in the top river, so even if they thought they were going for it, it's not much that Nongshim really could do.
Ooh, that's nice with the no minions there. They toss it down right away.
Oh, he can knock it back.
Yeah,
he can deny this.
They're
and
actually going to deny it, I think.
They might be able to get Morgan too. Red buff on Peanut. That is so much burn damage. And down he goes. And he even flashes as he's dying. And the Rift Herald goes down.
Did Arthur misclick that? That was pretty weird that he would actually Herald there. They didn't have the wave. They didn't know where Peanut was.
It was so close to the plates going down. I think he just rushed it through.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because it was what, maybe at that time, 20 seconds away or so?
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that's the reason he wanted to get the plates, but that was completely botched. Had they, had the Rift Herald a lot earlier, not concerned about that. But even at this stage, I think that was a little bit greedy.
And also the positioning of Kellen to be there. I don't think you would ever expect the Alistar to be there after the Rift Herald dies. They're like, oh, okay, they've kind of given up on this objective. We can just get free plates.
So Kellen actually is playing the long game here because he came from the base, and he didn't actually walk through any vision whatsoever, so they had no idea that he was here. Morgan Mega Naris, as soon as he figures it out, but I mean, he gets so much value because he actually gets the Rift Herald knockup and is able to set up for this kill. It's actually just the best Alistar play ever.
Yeah, no, it's actually crazy.
In the history of Alistar, there was never anything more valuable than that Pulverize.
Yeah, and Bay's able to get out. Teleport committed to. Chovy gets in there, and, you know, now Vista's trying to make plays, but I don't know, you know, again, if he can get the same amount of value that Alistar just did, so.
I got very excited for Nongshim in the Keswick Cup. I know I was the one who was a big Nongshim guy, you know. Mal never lets me forget it, but
you were right all along, Wolf.
But I mean, look,
you believed.
I thought about the macro mostly is they're actually going to give this Drake up.
That's okay.
I thought about the macro mostly when I was thinking about Nongshim, and I was, you know, pretty high on Duckdom. I thought he was a fantastic AD carry, but they didn't deliver, you know, through most of the season. The hype levels I expected, and for me, it feels like this series is a great. They're way overperforming, like you said. This is not Hanwha Life just like dropping the ball. They are a little bit, and their drafting has been very questionable, which is. It feels like there's been a lot of up and downs with Hanwha Life's drafting throughout the season. But for Nongshim here, I mean, for them to win this series is just an incredible upset. If you're tuning in for the first time because you're excited. Oh.
But Arthur is here this time. So that is going to be a nice little maneuver from Hanwha Life to make sure that they don't lose their top laner again.
This is the 6th place team about to eliminate the team that almost got second. One series away from it.
Potentially.
Yeah. And is 3rd, you know, that's how the seeding goes. So of the teams in round 1, they are the strongest. And Nongshim have, in 2 of the games they lost, they almost won, right?
Yeah.
Like this is just a crazy upset. It almost feels like if Nongshim win this, they won this series like 4-1 more than they won it 3-2. Like, you know, just because of the game they had such a lead in that they threw away, unfortunately, but I feel like the world is upside down right now watching this game. This is very unusual. Rich over here eating some serious chip damage.
That's pretty rough to deal with that Gnar, as now we're going to have this land. No ultimate available for Peanut, as Vista is looking to turn it around. Duckdom not hitting much, but Vista is going to die. And they just didn't have the follow-up damage because Kellen was in Unbreakable Will. Easily able to just pick up the support for free, essentially.
And this is going to be Duckdom pushing onto this turret. You know, I mean, this is just straight up a great exchange for Nongshim. There's no two ways about it. Hanwha Life Esports really need to shape up in the bottom side of the map if they're going to have any chance of taking this 5th and final game. That's where they've been weak all series, honestly. And it's not that I thought that Deft was just going to crush, but I felt like it was going to be close enough to where Duckdom was not going to be able to carry. And consistently, he has just been able to find kills, find picks, be ahead in CS all series long, and even the games he lost. I mean, he was a key factor in Nongshim's success. And Deft has just unfortunately not been able to find the same success himself, and went Gale Force this game, actually not even Kraken Slayer. And I mean, there's no like hard tank in this game. It's not like he's facing off against a Scion, but interesting choice. And even a little bit more execute power is good against Lilia in particular.
It's good, yeah, it's good, you know, to reposition a little bit easier against a lot of the threats.
Especially the Kellen Alistar threat that they have. You get caught by that, and also the Rich factor.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I think about like also. Threats. Oh my god, also like the base stun and.
Yeah.
Oh my god, also you could dodge Duckdom's Q.
There's a lot of uses. I like the Gale Force in this game. Just to say that. There's, you know, it's been just casually a Hanwha Life kind of 1,000 gold lead, but they're not really doing much with it. A lot of the gold, again, is just in Chovy's CS difference in the mid lane and the couple of kills that the Hecarim was able to pick up. Other than that, you know, 20 CS up in the top lane. I suppose Peanut is ahead in the jungle. That's where Nongshim is kind of shoring up some of the CS deficits in the lane.
Yeah, for sure. the power of Peanut in these team fights, you know, we haven't really seen how that's going to work, how well he's going to play this out, you know, because if he's able to have a really nice setup for sleeps, or he's able to hit some big Qs, he's going to be in really a really nice spot. Looks like he's going for the Dead Man's Plate build potentially here, and
he'll go double mask.
Yeah, actually that's where he's going with this, I'd say. Yeah, and like he goes double mask, then gets his Zonias. Once the Zonias comes online, that's when you just press Q and sleep people and go into your Hourglass, and that's where you can have like some really game-changing and playoff-changing team fights. But at this stage, you know, I feel like the Hecarim is still very valuable in the team fights. It's a really tough matchup for the Lilia, and the fact that Peanut's handling this game this well, despite it, you know, is a pretty impressive thing. Like, you and I were both a little bit raising our eyebrows, you know, at the Lilia pick here, and it has been fairly successful.
Yeah. We've seen it, you know, kind of picked into the Hecarim in some other regions, you know, in the LEC. I've seen it a bunch of times. But generally in the LCK, you know, we don't really see it that often. But Peanut just did it with confidence, and he's like, yeah, sure, totally fine.
Yeah, and it's been, you know, when we've seen other teams do that, the results have been less stellar.
Yeah, that's a really big blue buff, actually, for Chovy.
Yeah.
Perfect timing. He was low on mana, and now, okay. That's real great. I mean, you get the flash out of Vista, you flash away yourself, but no ultimate now on Chovy for the fight. As Peanut is going to get slowed up, and Deft actually has a really good angle. He's able to get into that back line as the sleep is coming in, and now Deft might be challenged here by Rich, who's doing a great job, but you see on the top side that Nongshim are not winning. Arthur is desperately trying to kill the little Bambi, and he will eventually, and the rest of Nongshim is just getting killed up in the river.
Yeah, and you know, Valdez, this is, I mean, it feels like this is the team fight that essentially hits my point the hardest, that when I was talking about the differences in team fights at this stage of the game for Peanut versus Arthur, like, his impact was so low compared to Arthur just zooming through the entirety of Nongshim and preventing them from doing damage. Sure, the top side of the fight went decently, but you just see the difference in what these two junglers are able to do in this early skirmish. I mean, I say early, we're 21 minutes of the game, but this mid-game skirmish, where unfortunately Peanut just doesn't have all of his items online. And this all started out with a very early flash force, right? Like, Chovy is able to start that up, and then things go very wrong from there. So, able to force Peanut to flash, so he's already low impact in terms of what he can set up here in this, get solar flared, and then Hecarim gets a whole chase onto him. And all Peanut really gets to do in this fight is Q once and set up a sleep, but the top part of the fight is already, you know, kind of set in stone. And Peanut just like running. But Arthur's going to get him in the end.
Yeah.
And he gets away as well. Because he's Hecarim, that's how it goes.
Yeah. I want to see the top side of the play as well. Kellen just dies really early, and Bay's all alone, so.
Like, he gets Chovy, but, I mean, that's all he's going to get. So, this ends up being a really nice team fight for Hanwha Esports. And, look, I mean, if all Chovy could be is an ult button, as long as he's doing the ult button to start the fight off the right way, you end up getting a really nice positional advantage there. They take the flash away from Peanut early, and it's a done deal, that team fight, you know? So, Hanwha have a massive advantage in these Drakes right now, and that really just sets the tone for how, you know, Nongshim's comp is going to have to fight. Like, they are not going to be able to sit back and wait anymore. They're actually going to be forced to fight. This is not the same fed Aatrox that we had for Rich last game. It's completely different. He's 1,700 gold behind in this game.
Yeah, that's really where the difference is being made in this one. I mean, and again, you saw the Gnar, you picked the Aatrox into it, so you knew what you were getting. You thought that Rich, you know, good enough on the Aatrox, he could make it work, he can survive through lane, and he'll be a menace later on. At least he's not behind on XP. You know, they're both level 14. It's not like the last game where Morgan was like 3 levels behind Rich by any means, so he's got that going for him, but he's down on farm. He's had not as much impact, and we'll have to see what can happen in the next fight. I think the next one could still be pretty close. The Infernal Drake is nice for Hanwha Life, but I think it's just going to come down to execution. I think either team can still win at this point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This really is going to be about the execution of the team fights. He did go double mask, Peanut, and now, you know, he can start working on his Zonias, which I think he desperately is going to need. In fact, I recommend that he gets a stopwatch first. Like, rush that out as soon as possible, because that can be a very like that stopwatch team fight that we're going to have on potentially the next Infernal Drake is, you know, where I think he can start to really turn this game around. Yes, he was ahead in farm and still is, had a big gold lead, but, you know, unfortunately he just still doesn't have the same impact in team fights that the Hecarim is going to have. So I'd really like to see that purchase as soon as possible, and I think he's probably thinking the same. That's just kind of standard. But until you hit that spike, like, you're just too fragile to be of consistent help, whereas Hecarim is just going to be able to press all the buttons and go in, and it's just a very different situation. And, you know, they were both very fed and about even until that last fight, which was one of the first, you know, straight up exchanges the junglers had.
I thought that Death was going to stick around, wait for Meganar, and look for a collapse play onto Rich, because then the amount of tempo you gain from that, you know, someone on Nongshim has to go bottom side. They can't really rush the Baron at this point by any means. And you could potentially get some good value with a play like that, especially when there's not much else happening on the map. But
yeah,
going to forego making any super proactive plays. They don't have deep vision in the enemy blue side jungle, so
I think that's the main reason why they didn't go for it, because it's just fairly risky for them to do that without that information. And they're gonna get this buff. Everyone's resetting for this Drake fight. See what Peanut buys, because that's going to be pretty huge.
Stopwatch is it's game changing. You want to get as many as possible before this fight.
Yeah,
it's one of the games where it's kind of just like, this fight could be do or die.
Yeah,
you know, you could get into the next round of playoffs based on this next fight.
Exactly. And like, if you're Nongshim here, like, you cannot let this go, and you have to win this fight, and you need to crush it as well. You know, you don't want a 1-for-1 fight when you like barely get the Drake. You need this to be a decisive win.
Chovy just finished Seraph's Embrace. He had 2,100 gold, able to go back and buy that straight up.
It's massive.
Yeah. So he gets the perfect timing, actually, on the big item.
That's not the hit that you're looking for with a bowling ball here. Okay, Nongshim are on this Drake first, but they're not in a really decisive position to where they can actually force a pick.
Yeah.
Vista's position here is super good to block them from actually going in, and then the Drake will actually reset.
Oh, they're actually going on to Duckdom here, who is going to cleanse and actually goes straight into the enemy and just dies. So no AD carry for Nongshim, and no team fight either. Peanut is emoting on the bottom side of the fight, doing nothing. Triple kill goes to Chovy, and Hanwha Light to sweep him up in the river as Death nearly dies, but Chovy is there to save him.
And that was a huge play from Vista. I mean, his positioning was perfect from the get-go. I was talking about how it's really difficult for Nongshim to actually go through that choke while he's there. Like, you can't really collapse in and try to take a hard engage if you're Nongshim, so you're stuck between a Drake and a hard place, right? Because you either, they're even going to try to double this off. And I think they can. I think they're going to get away with it. I mean, we are 27 minutes into the game. It's been a fairly low-action game throughout a lot of it. But, I mean, if you're... No way.
Right? No way, right? Okay, yeah.
That was
5,000 health left. Not
that actually
close.
was leaving me in suspense. We couldn't see the health bar, but anyway,
Good job, Jonah Strong.
Let's go back to this fight, right? So Vista's in a place where Rich can't actually collapse in, and then he threads the needle flash into play. It's on the duck top, and he has to flash away from Death's Killer Instinct.
Why did he flash south?
Well, I mean, I guess we'd have to watch it again for me to answer that question, but I think he. I think he definitely flashed the wrong way, because he ran right into a Hecarim who blew him up. But like, the engage there was so good from Vista, and you just can't win that fight without Duckdom anymore. You know, regardless of the flash decision there, he wasn't going to be able to be high impact in that fight anymore. And that's like lights out right there.
Yeah,
they're able to get a Baron. I mean, that like, you said it right before the fight. That was probably going to be a huge Drake that might even decide the game, might decide whether you go to round 2 of playoffs or not. And it feels like it might have decided that, because they were able to get Baron.
Peanut here, he's getting dove on now once again, and there's not much that he can do. He does have the stopwatch, but it's not enough time to buy. They're too far behind, and now Duckdom's going to get caught again. Vista is just owning him in this game. And Rich is desperate, but he's barely even tickling Morgan at this point.
Feels like a lot of people who had, high predictions on this series are feeling really relieved right now. as it looks like Hanwha Life have done it. They're looking to pull this series back, and it was a very, very close one. That is for sure. And it's not over yet until the Nexus falls, but one inhibitor down. They're looking for a second one with the next Baron wave coming through. Chovy is actually just looking them all in the eyes.
Yeah.
He's not afraid of anything.
Standing up to them.
And I mean, Hanwha Life are just looking to close this one out.
And they might just be able to. I mean, they're going to take down the 2 inhibitors, but now you just wait 2.5 minutes, take the Infernal Soul, go for a game-winning push. They're just too far ahead at this point.
Yeah.
It's over 10,000 gold.
I mean, you see exactly where Morgan is going. He's like, well, there's only one lane left. And he's just so ahead. He's 3-1-5 compared to Rich, who's been very unsuccessful this game. And it turns out that Hanwha Life, as we're going to watch this moment one more time, I mean, Peanut is just so fragile in this matchup. Like, he did do very well early on, all things considered, but that story has changed quite significantly. But, you know, the change of putting Arthur in and actually slowing down the game and actually putting Chovy on Orianna and just playing a very standard, I'm better than you, I'm going to play something very traditional, and we're the better team, and we're going to go round to a playoffs. Strategy was a great success here for Hanwha Life. They felt very risky to put Arthur in, but the composition is the most stable one we've seen for them all day.
Peanut just showed himself. I mean, like,
yeah,
things are not looking clean here on the side of Nongshim. Here comes Vista over the wall. He is getting pretty deep on in there, actually. He's just going to die. Hanwha Life, you got to be careful, guys. I mean, you're super far ahead, but you don't want to just be throwing your lives away, as the Shockwave is going to make a nice Shockwave, and that's about it. And these 2 lanes with the inhibitors, at least, they're going to have to go back and deal with that. So you can see now just getting on top of Peanut here, way too much damage onto him. Does not have enough gold to finish that Zhonya's. He already used his stopwatch. The Unbreakable Will is going to come out here from Kellen, but Hanwha Life, they're just looking to take everything that they possibly can from
I mean,
ahead.
you get one kill like this, and I mean, with Baron buff, giving you the 2 inhibitor lead, you kind of just have freedom all over the map. And they're just trying to spend this clock the best they can. I mean, there's 48 seconds left before they do posture for that final fight. And for Nongshim, that's what they're waiting for too, is they will get to fight this on even footing. Peanut will actually have the opportunity to set up for that sleep, right? He is going to be here. And look at this. Picking Vista, but, you know, for Hanwha Life right now, like, I don't think you're really afraid of this streak fight at all. This is just such a swift execution of Peanut.
Yeah. And Deft is, you know,
he's coming back with a vengeance.
Feels like he got his highlight in this game.
Yeah.
It finally happened. In this series, I should say.
And Peanut actually can't finish Zhonya's. Like, he's spent so much time in the death chamber.
Yeah.
He actually can't get the last part of that, so he's not going to be able to go golden in this upcoming team fight. Which is massive, that he's not going to be able to do that. Oh, Shockwave!
Yeah, just walking over the ball now. And they're desperately trying to stop the Infernal Soul, but they cannot. There's no way, no how. They're just way too far behind. You see even Bay is looking to get in there. They're getting desperate. Rich is taking way too much damage from the Orianna. And even on the top side, Hanwha Life are just playing with their food. Deft is going in against 3 of them. He is going to go down, but also will the rest of Nongshim.
Yeah, Peanut is just trying to survive here any way he can. Arthur's teasing him. There's the final kill.
That's going to do it. Hanwha Life, they are going to win this series. They pick up an ace at 33 minutes, and they finally show what we were expecting from a lot of these games here. It took 5 games, but they finally made it happen as Peanut has got his head in his hands. Understandably very disappointed. They got so close, but Hanwha Life was the better team at the end of the day, and they will be moving on to the round 2 of the playoffs.